Welcome to Counseling Now. I'm Herman Cummings, and with me is...
I'm Grace Lopez.
We're here to talk to you today about our experiences in the program here at the College of Education and Health Professions. Grace, why don't you start off and tell us about what your experiences are? I know you've been here longer than I have.
I've been here since the fall of '08, and it's been really amazing. I mean, the professors have been there for me since the beginning, even with trying to get into the school. I don't know if it was like that for you in applying, but they were there to answer questions if we needed. And then once we got into the interview process, they were already giving us information about the program. Were you able to get the information you wanted during the interview process?
I certainly did, Grace, and really what I like to say is that the faculty and staff here are tremendous. They're very helpful. If you need any help, they're more than willing to help you in getting into the program. Once you're in the program, they're always available after class. They're available to assist you in any way that you need, and that's what I've really found in this program. One of the other things that really makes this program unique than the other programs is that really the self-reflection. I believe that in this program I've actually learned more about myself in the few months that I've been here than I have in my entire undergrad and college. Has that experience been that way for you, Grace?
Certainly. We have to be able to understand ourselves, our own biases, our own thoughts, values, in order to be able to be open to helping other people. So our professors try to get us to really think really thoroughly about what our values are, what our beliefs are, and how we're comfortable in working with different people. So it has been the same for me. The other important thing that the program has taught us is to be able to not only self-reflect, but also be able to understand more about ourselves and research further into all the different aspects, into our backgrounds, into our different skills. Also, when you get into theory, you get to find which theory works best with you, if you like working with children, or if you like looking at things from a broader perspective, like the existential perspective. So you'll get more into that. Have you had theory yet?
I have not had theory yet, Grace, but I look forward to taking that class. Another class I found very useful was the counseling seminar, which really prepares those that are going to get into private practice and to starting their own business. I found that class very useful. There's a lot of wealth of information there, because really starting your own business, especially your own counseling practice, is a very difficult process. Ethics was a very important class. You touched on that a little bit, Grace. It really helps us reflect on ourselves and let us know exactly what type of clients might give us the most trouble based on our own biases. And it's important to remember that when you're in this program that it's really not about us, it's about the client, about helping the client. And really the goal of counseling is to help the client figure out find their own answers. And really, we are dragon slayers. Dragon slayers in the sense that we help people, we lead people to their troubles and their fears, and we don't actually slay their dragon, but we actually help them. We give them the tools necessary to slay their own dragons. And once that happens, they become dragon slayers too. And basically what we try to do here at this program is try to help people become better citizens and to help them in life and to really help them in community involvement and become better citizens.
And at the same time, we're also taught to do that, to be better citizens, to look at the whole, to kind of look at people in a holistic manner, so that we're not just seeing them in their counseling and their problems, but also seeing what their family roles are like, what their work roles are like, and integrate that all into helping them. And as Herman was saying with the great analogy about the dragon slayer, in being a dragon slayer and helping them become a dragon slayer, we need to model different counseling skills that we may use and that may help them see what's happened in their lives and reflect upon themselves. Is there any counseling skills that you tend to use more of or think about more?
What I think is really helpful is the positive regard. We have to let the client know that it's good what they're doing, that they're making some progress. Just them showing up, if it's nothing else than just them showing up at the counseling session, they're making progress. They're making a step toward recovery, and I think that's very important. to do is to give them that positive regard, because a lot of times when they come in, they're going through something, and it's very difficult a lot of times for people to come in and tell a stranger their problems. And us as counselors, we have to be sure to create a comfortable environment for our clients, to let them know that, you know, it's okay, that we've all been there before, and that help is available, and that there is hope. What counseling skills have you used?
Well, you touched on creating a trusting therapeutic, setting for them, a safe place, a safe holding place for them to express what they need to express that they can't to other people. So I feel that some of the most basic counseling skills you can use within the session, especially in some of the first sessions, is attending and reflection of feelings. In attending, you're sitting there, you're looking at the client, you're nodding your head, you're making sure you're paying attention to everything that they're saying and doing, because there's a lot of nonverbals that will be able to give you cues into what the person is like. They may be shaky and jittery, and you might realize they may be a bit anxious. Then they may be more laid back. So it's important to attend and make sure you're listening to them, and make sure that they know that you're there for them. Along with attending, another thing to help with a therapeutic relationship would be to reflect back their feelings so that they know you're listening. Not only can they see you nodding your head and looking at them, but they can hear you. Say a client says, "Oh, I felt so angry the other day that I almost threw my book across the room." Well, the counselor can say, "Oh, I hear that you're really angry and maybe frustrated as well." So it's things like that that I think are important for basic skills.
Yeah, indeed, and really the client, you have to build that trust with the client. You have to make the client feel like that they are safe. They feel safe and they feel valued there at the counseling session, because the therapeutic relationship is very, very delicate and very fragile, and you have to make sure you don't do anything to break it. And a lot of things that you learn is that you can't do anything that's going to harm the client. The client is the number one resource. They're very valuable and it's very precious. We have to make sure that we treat it that way. And really the client is the expert in their own lives. And a lot of times clients don't really realize that, is that they are the experts in their own lives. They have their own answers, and we're just there to help sort out the clutter and help find a clear path for them. And I know, Grace, that you have went to an internship. Why don't you talk about your experiences there?
Oh, sure. I am interning at the Counseling Center here at CSU, and we get a wide range of students, so we're getting a wide range of experiences. Also, the type of people that I work with, there are doctors within the program, psychologists, but there are also other interns from different universities and from different programs. There are some in a doctoral program, so we're all able to work together to try and help figure out these basic skills and other techniques to use with the clients that we see. And the clients that we see here at CSU are anywhere from ages 18 to 40 or 50, because we have students coming from all over. And in coming from all over, they have all different experiences and all different issues that they bring to the table. So it's been really exciting, and there's great supervision there. And on top of that, like you were stating before, you had mentioned how you need to keep the therapeutic relationship, and that we're there to help the client, help them see their way through their own problems. But in seeing their way through their own problems, there's times where they can get stuck. And so sometimes we need to give them that little push to get them to think a little bit further. And sometimes when you give them that little push, you might feel that you're breaking that therapeutic relationship, because it can get confrontational. But through that confrontation, we have to realize as counselors that we're not going to break our clients or hurt their feelings, because they're a lot more resilient than a lot of us like to think. So like you said, it is important and valuable to keep that relationship, but hopefully after a few sessions, maybe 5 or 6 sessions, you can get to that point where you can actually start to interpret some of what they're saying, clarify some of their feelings, and maybe push them and confront them a little bit so you can get them thinking more about their issue.
Yeah, that's an interesting point, Grace, that you made about pushing the client into reaching their goals. I have not went to internship, but I had some experience at Fort Benning in counseling skills class, and which was sort of like a mini internship. I had a client who was being abused by the people around him, and he loved playing the role of the victim. And it was important for me as a counselor to try to form goals for him, and to try to get him to form goals for himself. And he was juggling around. He really didn't want to do anything. And while trying to balance pushing him, I had to try to be careful not to seem hostile toward him or to be an enemy of his. And one thing that we will learn in the counseling relationship is that transference does occur, and that is when the client sees the therapist as someone in their family or someone in their life other than them being the therapist. And particularly for this gentleman is concerned, he looked at me as one of the people that in his life that were harming him. But it's important for us as counselors to recognize when transference occurs and how to not let that turn into countertransference, where we start to bring some things in our lives on the client. Have you had anything like that occur when you were counseling?
I've had, and the important part is to, like you had stated, in transference, it's important not to have any countertransference. And it's hard to do that, and it's important for the counselor to understand this is where those values and self-reflection come in, to understand that you're there to help them and you are the therapist, and to not get so touchy or be sensitive to what the client is saying, not to put not to get all defensive and then start a real argument within the session.
Right.
I mean, I've had clients who, because I'm a woman and I can be quite nurturing and quite calming in the relationship usually, a lot of my male clients will tend to transfer me as the mother that some of them never had.
Yes.
So in that transference, they're expecting me to be motherly, they're expecting me to nurture them. So sometimes it's hard for me to take the confrontational role to try and push them, because I don't want to break, that view. I want them to be able to trust me as they would a mother, but I do need to push them to that barrier. So right now in my internship, that's what I'm working on letting myself know that it's okay to confront them, that my client is resilient, that my client will be able to handle the questions that I may push them to think about.
Very interesting, very good stuff, Grace. And I have another question for you. Have you ever had your clients, because you're so nurturing, try to take advantage of that?
Yes, I believe that a few of my clients in the beginning, I didn't think of it that way. I thought, they were coming to me with their problems, but they do try to take advantage and sometimes manipulate even. They will try to get my time with them even longer. I have 50 to 60 minute sessions with people, but they'll try to push that barrier to maybe another 15 minutes. So it does take me, time to sternly, but in a polite way, let them know that the session is this time, and I have other clients I see as well, just to, draw the barriers between the relationship so that they know.
It's very important to establish barriers, and barriers are set during the first counseling session, and most of the barriers can be disclosed in informed consent, and that is very important, that the client knows exactly what the session is going to be about, what your theoretical framework is, and how the counseling process works, so there's no confusion or deception on our part. And that's another ethical issue, but it's very important for us to establish barriers, because we might very well see our clients outside of the counseling session, and it's important for us to make sure that we keep the relationship a client-therapist relationship and not getting to dual relationships, which are relationships that are outside the counseling relationship. Like if we see someone in the mall, it's good that therapists do not actually address the client, not to be in a rude sense.
Right.
But what I want to say is that it's important that we keep the confidentiality and that we keep the therapeutic relationship safe. And a lot of barriers can be crossed, and when they are crossed, it's important for us to let the client know what happened. And a lot of times you can refer to the informed consent and let them know that this is a barrier that we cannot cross. Because really, we're protecting the client and we're protecting ourselves. Because it's all about not harming the client, like I said earlier. And a lot of times if barriers are crossed, you can risk harming the client. What is the most fulfilling thing, would you say, about being a counselor?
The most fulfilling thing for me about being a counselor is being able, I was shocked that, I knew I'd be able to do it, but I was shocked that I can sit in a session with someone and just be totally engrossed with what they're saying. You know, I have other things as students, we have other things going on, but when you're in that session with a client, everything goes out the window pretty much for me. And I'm able to just sit there and listen to the client and what they have to say, and I'm letting them speak their mind. And there's a lot of people in their lives that don't listen to them, and that's the most fulfilling part, being able to be there for other people and hearing that they enjoy coming each week. Because a few of my clients are like, oh, I love coming. They go, sometimes when I get here I don't like it so much, but I love knowing that I have somebody to come to each week.
Yes, and what I find most fulfilling is I always wanted a profession or to do something that helped other people. I remember that I wanted to be a pediatrician because I loved kids and I wanted to do something that involved helping others. But I found that I wanted to not help people in a sense of their physical self, but their mental self. And a lot of times the mind is, well, actually the mind is more powerful than the body. And a lot of the battles that we face are in the mind. People who go to bed tired and they wake up tired, they feel they may have gotten sleep, but they haven't gotten rest. They feel like that the whole weight of the world is on their shoulders, and that's really what we want to do as counselors, is help those that are in trouble. And I know that you said, Grace, is fulfilling when those that come in that do need help, and also there are those that come in that don't want to be at the counseling session. Mm-hmm. A lot of times that happens because they don't feel safe or valued. A lot of times the dark places aren't a place they want to go to. Mm-hmm. And like I said earlier, we're dragon slayers, and a lot of times that dragon is something that's very scary to them, and they don't want to be, don't want to go to that scary place. But as counselors, it's our job, it's our duty to ease their concerns so they do not feel fearful of going to that cave where that dragon's at. And a lot of times they might fear the dragon, and sometimes the dragon may be something that they want to hold on to because they feel as though that is the only thing that identifies themselves with. They identify themselves with that dragon, with that problem, and we also have to tackle that as well.
And that's like what we spoke about before, looking at our client in a holistic sense, more than just the problem that they're bringing in, but their connection to families, their connection to their lifestyle, their work, their school. So it's important. And we're able to do that too. As graduate assistants, we're able to see outside just our problems. We're students, we're brothers, we're sisters, we're, you know, part of a family. How's your experience been so far as a graduate assistant?
My experience has been very fulfilling, Grace. As a graduate assistant, you get to see operate in the ins and outs of the Department of Education and Health Professions. You get to see and talk to those who really want to be in the program. You really get to get a sense of who's right for this program and who's not. And who is right for this program are those that really want to help others, those that love people. And really the important thing is the love. And you can really see that with everyone, Grace, that I work with, that we work with here, is the love that everyone shows towards one another and towards the students, and it really reflects on the clients. Reflects on the clients as well. I also feel that as a graduate assistant, you're able to really concentrate on helping others. And I think that, you know, the love really that is shown is really important.
Yeah. And I think as graduate assistants, as counseling students, we experience that family-like values and love, as Herman was talking about, within the College of Education, and especially within our Department of Counseling Foundations and Leadership. And so we'd like to thank everyone for coming today, and we hope to see you soon at Counseling Now.